I'm like very all in on we could be inside of a box. Like this whole bad boy could open up and like a sweaty Marine from the 40s could like pull me out. Fucking
Welcome to You Are God, the podcast, the show where we philosophize, appreciate,
dichotomize,
dude. Whoa, dichotomize.
Misers, dude.
Little misers. I like that. We're undebatably the most pro You Are God show ever. Like, is there any other show, any other podcast that like can say that with confidence, look in the camera and tell our audience that you are God? I don't think so.
No. We have a fucking helpline for it. You know what I mean?
That's true.
I am God. Help, I am God.com.
No, it's I am God.help.
Yeah, I am God.help.
Oh, my bad. I don't remember it, but we got it for you.
Is that a website or an email that people can reach out to us with? Okay. I'm God.help. A little lower thirds right there. Yeah. So, Greg, Dylan, and Mateo here looking to get in touch with our innermost selves while discussing the underpinnings of our conscious reality. Your presence is appreciated here and online at thechangedcommunity.com. For daily clips and antics, follow us at You Are God Pod. Dylan?
Because we're whoa. This is going to start becoming the running joke that just the intro gets fucked up at this stage.
The intro, I mean, you just can't fucking improvise, dude.
Hold on.
Dylan, do you care to tell the people why we're changed?
Exactly. And I feel like that's the cue, is it not?
The cue, sure.
Because we're all fucking heavily versed in some esoteric wisdom and lore, dude. That's why we're changed.
We got to be versed in something, you know? It's sure as shit not intros, I'll tell you that. Yeah. I like how on this little sheet of paper, I've got 3 bullet points. I got 4 bullet points, 3 notes on 4 bullet points. My penis,
nice,
group, and yachty.
That's for today's show?
No, this is just for the first show we ever did. So it's fucking pointless at this point. Oh, get that away from your feet, dude. Yeah.
Don't want to get penis or yachty on your feet.
Well, actually, both. I mean, kind of both of those are fine.
Yeah.
Would you let yachty suck on your toes?
Yeah.
I'd let yachty suck on my toes for sure. Would you suck on yachty's toes?
I mean, for the story, 100%. I've never sucked on a toe before, but if little yachty was like my first opportunity to suck a toe, I would do it.
Am I the only person here that's ever sucked on a toe?
I never sucked on a toe. Well, at least not in my adult life.
What does that mean? What are you talking about?
I feel like babies be toe sucking.
Yeah, that's true.
Whose toes are they?
Their own toes.
Oh,
yeah.
I probably sucked on my own toes.
Yeah. In fact, I definitely sucked on probably around 8.
That's true. I probably sucked on my toe at a fairly old age.
Yeah.
Greg, I feel like that's why you're anti-toe now, you know? You probably sucked on a toe too late, like in middle school, and people are like, what the fuck are you doing, dude?
It's a shame thing. I'm like, never again.
It's just like pissing in the fucking coffee mugs.
That story stayed in that podcast, right? Fantastic.
I wasn't going to take that out, dude.
Love it.
Greg could like put me at gunpoint. I'd be like, I'm sorry, dude, I got posted.
I would love to watch back my reaction just now of me being like, how's he know that? Or me being like, did he just read my mind, bro?
Oh my God.
Because that's the exact moment I was thinking of like, I think maybe that's why I can't pee.
Mm-hmm. Is that your deepest, darkest secret?
I don't know. It's weird because young secrets are things you just never ended up telling anyone. You know what I mean? Because like, I don't think that was necessarily, it was socially abnormal, but I don't think it was bad. I don't think I hurt anyone, you know?
Yeah.
It's not the worst thing I've ever done, but it's probably my
secret,
deepest
but it's not
secret.
A dark one. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And my darkest are like, I don't know. It's like, they're not, they're more sad than they are. You know what I mean?
They're not fun. Like, you know, like
they're not not malicious. They're more self-destructive. Like people would be like, you did hurt someone, but like not for good reason, not for gain, really.
The part I love being empty-headed because I have deep secrets that you guys don't know. Not because I'm not willing to tell you guys, but just because I fucking forgot them, you know?
Totally.
And then like I'll remember one day and I'll like bring it up and you guys like, oh, that's fucking wild, dude.
Dude, I feel like that's most people's darkest secret is probably so repressed that like they would never be able to come up with it if you were to ask them.
Yeah, that takes some fucking therapy, bro.
Yeah.
Probably the worst thing you've done, you don't know you did. I would stand behind that one.
That's what I'm saying. That's some. Oh, like you did something that you don't even recognize as a bad thing.
Yeah,
that you
like
did,
a
but had
chain
horrible
reaction that like
consequences.
eventually killed a kid. You know,
Like I'm almost sure everyone's killed someone and not probably know it. Because I got close, obviously. Like we have that story.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that one. I wasn't gonna bring it up, but yeah,
Is that one out there yet or no?
No, dude, that one's not out there.
Oh, we'll keep it secret. Dude.
Oh, God. It's gonna be unsecret one day, you know.
See, that's where I'm convinced. Though, where I'm like, I feel like therapy can be a very bad idea. I'm like, I'm convinced that therapy. I'm convinced that I'm gonna go to a therapist. They're gonna bring up my darkest secret, and I'm gonna be like, "Fuck you!" Like this was not an issue until you found it.
It wasn't an issue, but like it's just like cleaning out a room, you know. Like if you're cleaning out your desk or a closet, like shit's gonna get messy. It's gonna get messier before it gets better. So I'm gonna have to end up pulling everything out of the closet, put it on the floor of the room, and then I have to like disperse it to like organized containers across my house. You know, the same thing with your brain. You're gonna have to like rip out everything. You know, you just don't want to. You don't want to be ripped apart.
No, I'm pretty good with where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Think it's possible to throw the box of junk away without having ever looking in it? Or do you think the only way to get it out of the room?
Drugs is
Dude,
the
that's
only
drugs
way
for
you
sure.
do it.
That kinda is.
100%. Yeah.
I guess that's what MDMA therapy is, right? Like it makes you in such a good mood that then they're like, fuck. And you're like, oh, sure, whatever.
I don't know. I don't know how that works because it's like from experience, it's like very clear. I'm like, of course, this would work as like a great drug for this.
Yeah.
But I don't I don't know how it would deal with the PTSD memories. I think we've talked about it before where I'm like, I'm pretty sure you would do it, probably think about your trauma. Like if you're doing it to fix your PTSD, like your PTSD is probably intruding on you like, once an hour. Where if you did MDMA and then you do remember your PTSD, but then finally don't have a negative reaction to it.
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh, nice. Like this event happened, but I don't have to feel horrible when I think about it.
I think that's spot on how it works. Because you remember memories, right? It's not like a computer that just brings them up. It's you every time you remember a memory, you remember remembering the memory.
Every time you remember a memory, you remember remembering the memory.
Maybe that is how computers work, but you refresh it is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you reframe it. The Kendrick Lamar, The Heart Part 5. As I get older,
I realize life is perspective.
But yeah, life's all about perspective. So MDMA just has to be like a reframing that and just looking at it from a different angle and hopefully a more positive light, you know? I don't know if it really works though, you know? I hear a lot of people tell me about studies. No one's ever really shoved a study in my face though, you know?
I got that firsthand though, I feel like, where I'm like, it worked for me. But maybe mine wasn't that bad though. Mine was mostly like
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like a veteran probably like if a veteran were to listen to that, they want to like fucking rattle you.
Yeah.
It's interesting because mine was all psychological.
Yeah.
So it's tough to be like, because I'm like, veterans, I'm sure, think I've been to a place no one else has been to. Like you haven't seen your best friend shot in the head, and then 10 minutes later, your other best friend shot in the head.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, you also haven't seen the time death of the universe, you know? You haven't seen a star like kill itself. Like, I feel like there's some things in there that are like also very out of the ordinary. It's not like, oh, someone was mean to me in a breakup. It's like, no, like I saw some things, bro.
Dude, I don't know. I edited like a whole podcast where this guy, it was a therapist creating a podcast. I won't give a name or the specifics because he talked about committing war crimes. And this is all like PTSD, really deep rooted PTSD. He'd be freaking out on camera. And she's like, okay, just tap through it. Just tap through it. And I'm like in the control room, like, what the fuck is going on? He talked about being in like South America in like part of like a drive-by shooting where like fucking 50 people were killed. And he was like just a kid in the car while it was happening.
That's gnarly.
So I don't mean to gatekeep the PTSD at all, but I'm like, that's just so zoomed in. Like, Greg, you probably have extremely zoomed out PTSD.
Yeah, let me be clear. Mine is not as bad by any means.
I think though, like the mechanism's kind of the same for both. Where at the end of the day, it's like in that situation, it's like the world just must be so ugly after you've lived that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Where and like for you, I'm like, I don't think ugly is the right word, but it's like I don't know. You do MDMA, and then you're just like, oh, the world can be like a nice place.
Yeah.
Like, I think it just reminds you that it's like, oh, I can feel like content,
yeah,
and happy and loved.
Mm-hmm.
And for the tapping versus MDMA, that's like Windex and brake cleaner.
That's true.
It's like very different levels of. I think tapping can be useful, but for someone who's like killed someone on purpose that was unarmed, it's like you need fucking drugs, bro.
Dude, that's what they should have done that podcast. Should have done like first half of the podcast tapping, second half of the podcast like he's freaking out. You just feed him MDMA. Be like, okay, let's see if this works this time.
Dude, if you feed me MDMA while I'm freaking out, there's no way it's gonna go good. You got to give me MDMA like in a safe space, and then like lead me out like a scared little kid.
I would almost argue it would still go good. I think it would. You would just stop freaking out as soon as you started coming up. I think you would just be, oh wait, why am I freaking out? Oh, I feel amazing.
I think
is this wonder drug? I don't know.
The come down would be horrible though if you went in freaking out. You gotta like.
Depends what you're freaking out about.
Yeah. I just think reframing PTSD is like a kind of a delicate. It's like Inception, where you like open up the mind. You're like, well, be careful not to like fuck up it.
Yeah, you don't just like fucking stomp around, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's a fucking Travis Scott concert on MDMA vibes. I'd want to do that though, you know? Like really get in my own head and then just like start stomping.
That whole story of the Travis Scott concert where people got trampled is like I would need MDMA after that if I was at that concert.
That'd be terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot to tell you guys, dude. When I was driving up to LA, I saw a car on the side of the road with an entire tree through the driver's seat, and it was soaked in blood.
Whoa.
Like a gallon of blood on it.
Was there like emergency crews at the scene yet? Or was
there
this
was
just
like
fresh?
There was like 30 cars there. Like maybe like 15 cops and
a tree on the freeway?
So they went up the embankment, got air, landed in a tree, and like maybe this big of a branch went through the driver's windshield, through the driver, through the chair, and it was like a blood splat all the way up the tree. And I was like, why is my side slowed down? There's nothing over here. I look over and it's like a fully like impaled dude, and I was like, holy shit.
Yikes.
Might be my first dead body I've ever seen. It was horrible.
Yeah, how was that? Like,
I was late, so I was like, I got a good excuse now, but I did feel bad for him because I was like, my dad had been in an accident a week before, and I was like,
dude, anyone that tuned into this podcast hoping for fucking good vibes.
Yeah, it really took a turn.
Just war crimes and people being impaled.
Yeah, it's reality though, you know?
It's truth for sure, dude. So we're all big Sean fans, kind of. Them more so than me. I think he has a little bit of truth and a little bit of corniness mixed together. So I thought it would be good just to read his favorite like interview lines, song quotes, interview quotes, song lines, and kind of see what's based and what's not from him.
I think the lyric that sat with me the longest, or like I used the most, was voices in my head saying I could do better. Because that's that internal like kind of not better you. It is kind of better you, like eternal you that's watching how your ego acts. That voice.
Eternal or internal?
Eternal, and it's internal, but like I like to think
the
it's
eternal, the God in you. That's what Dylan talks about though, with like the party. Like you do have that voice, you do know what's best for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is just that where it really like brings me. I know when I'm cheating myself, even down to like an extra M&M. You know what I mean? Because I can eat like an entire bag of M&Ms and feel great about it if I set out to. But as soon as you make an agreement and you break it, then I'm like,
I know I can do better.
No, that's really big. Yeah, I that indicates like what you value a lot, because that's such a zoomed out truth and like line to like from him.
Yeah, it's not even that specific. Yeah, like how you said, it's very broad.
I think it's also a pretty common thread of just super successful people too, where it's like that self-critical voice, like that's almost like, is it what I was talking about 100%? But it's also, I feel like, a line of him just being like, I'm super self-critical on myself. And that's why like I'm at where I'm at. Because I always have a voice in my head being like, you could always be doing more.
And that's a good 2-part song too, because there's voices in my head / stick to the plan. And he's like, the voices know what to do, you know, the voice they're telling you what to do. All you got to do is stick to the plan.
Stick to it.
Dude,
bitch, quit playing.
I haven't heard this song in so long, because you referenced that and I was like, yeah, that was always the thing, is I'd be like, you're fucking up, and then be like, but we can fix it. We know exactly what to do. That's the upside of it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Total running song. My other one was little classic here. Roll, roll, roll my weed on it. That's an ashtray. So I just,
yes, dude.
You know,
there's not even much to be said. That one speaks the truth for itself.
Just inspiring, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got 2 also. I'm gonna save my major dick riding one for the second one, because then it's gonna get into a whole like conversation about is he corny or is he like really onto something, you know?
Okay.
But the first one that I picked out is, and if you're feeling stagnant, just know you attracting the energy that you put out there. You a walking magnet. And that's huge.
That's a nice bar too. Okay.
Yeah. And it's just like, that's so real. If you're feeling stuck, there's kind of no way that's not on you. And like that could be socially, it could be professionally, it could be like in anything that you want, you know? But like that is real. Whatever energy you put out there is going to get reflected back at you. Yeah. Like kind of no matter what, like as a rule.
I think about that a lot recently too, you know? I haven't been feeling specifically stuck, but I feel like I'm trying to reach a peak, you know, that I haven't reached in like a year. And I'm like, how do I do this? And I know there's a level of like, it's the energy I'm putting out in the universe isn't matching what I was doing before. That's a tough thing because I feel like a hesitance, you know? I'm like, is there a reason why I'm giving the energy out that I am now? Was that like a conscious decision that I made prior? Or is it just like a slow like regression?
Yeah, that's a hard one. Because like I would argue that the energy you're putting out there is kind of always just a choice. But it can be really hard to get in the head state to like make the choice you want, you know?
Well, yeah, because your choices are going to snowball into a lot of things, you know? Even if you make a relatively right choice, it's going to bring you down a different path than like a different relative correct choice. So. Yeah.
Dude, that's why, I mean, I think we've talked about this, I'm sure, before, but like I'm always tripping off the idea of momentum and how hard it is to break that momentum. Yeah. But that's where it's like a weekend like we had in Big Bear is so valuable. Because like that's like a hard stop on whatever momentum you had. And it's like a very good way to transfer all that energy into something else.
Dude, fuck that. That's not even a hard stop. That's Apollo 13. They're like, we'll save fucking more fuel if we use the moon to slingshot us around. You know? Yeah. Like that's a fucking great vibe. So yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. Okay. And then the second one, which is just like, I feel like it's just Big Sean defending himself to his haters, but I'm like, in my opinion, is a good defense, but definitely slips into the corniness realm. Yeah. How the fuck is there people that have never met me that hate me? I wonder if they understand that I meditate daily and feel like my life purpose is to give inspiration, despite the hit songs that there's just no escaping. That I take care of my family and beat the odds that were deadly. You hate me, that just reflects your lack of succession. Whoa. And I'm like, that is kind of like, I kind of think that's real. I'm like based on what he's done, like, I think that's a pretty good defense where he's like, I'm just trying to help people and like do everything I can to like be that wave. So if you don't like me, like, do you not like people being inspired?
You know, it's a fair question, you know, but at the same time, anyone's like, why don't you hate me? I see the corniness in it too. I'm like, I don't hate you exactly because you're asking me this question and it's like the need for approval from everybody else. Yeah. But it has to be so hard to be on that level and not ask for the approval at the same time.
I think what he's trying to say too is like, you can not like me, totally fair. Like, you know, reasonable for anybody to not like anybody else. But if you're putting your energy into trying to like bring him down, which to be fair, I'm like, who's doing that? Like, nobody's actually doing that.
Maybe a couple of comments here and there.
And that's where the corniness comes in, where it's like, okay, but like, you might be making up an enemy here that doesn't really exist. But I do think it's a good lesson where it's like, you really shouldn't be putting your energy into bringing anybody down because it's like, you don't even know what they're really trying to do.
Dude, maybe this is where he's more based than all of us. Like he is making up that enemy and that's where he draws his power from, you know? Yeah. And that's what the 48 Laws power talks about. They're like, hey, like Mao in China and some of the best leaders ever, Napoleon, they made up their enemies and they fought these wars because that was the best way to be the best leader possible, to bind your people as much as possible, you know?
And that's like a pretty common thread in rap too. It's like there's not a single rapper who doesn't talk about like their ops or like something like, you know, it's like that just is something where they all draw power from and everybody kind of likes that narrative. Yeah. Because everybody in their head like is fighting some sort of enemy, even if the enemy really doesn't exist.
It's a fact. I like to think about like Greg's ops, you know?
Bro, my demons.
They're definitely your demons, you know? Dude, Greg's it's also some like real random shit too, though, you know? I feel like it's gonna be like a part in your car that you're like, yo, fuck this guy, dude. Like, I'm done with
like
your
the TPS, bro. Like what you just showed me with your text was about Sprite. Like your op is like Sprite that's not in a can, you know?
Bro,
like,
for real, dude, that bootleg ass non-factory grade Sprite, fuck you, dude.
Dude, if it's not Lebron Sprite, I don't fucking want it.
That's what I'm saying. Kept that bad boy for 2 years.
Dylan, what's your biggest op?
My biggest op?
Yeah.
Dude, this is what I really took out of that 48 Laws of Power book when I read it. The line that stuck out to me the most was like, if you don't have enemies, figure out a way to make some.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like I do have ops. I was like, damn, I do need to, like, I should figure out how to make some enemies.
Mhm.
I'm probably like too agreeable.
I'm probably along with you on that, you know? And that's such a funny, I feel like it's almost like a brag us saying that. You
A
know,
little
it's
bit.
like, oh dude, we just meditate too fucking hard to
But
have
like
ops,
it's
bro.
not even that. But it's like I don't like to put the energy into having an enemy, but I should, because like at work, like I was on a wave for a very short time, but for a week I was like, my boss is going down, dude. Like I'm like, you know, like I'm slitting his throat type of vibe. Like this, I need to take this dude's job and like get him out of this company. And that gave me a ton of motivation.
Yeah.
Dude, I got motivated from you even just being like, I'm coming for the neck. Bro.
Yeah,
like
dude,
you don't
it's
even
like,
know. Like,
yeah, it's like you're just not even gonna see it coming. Like this dude's just going down. Like I already have, like every person is on my side and against him already. I'm having conversations behind his back to be like, okay, guys, like get ready because I'm coming in, you know. And everybody was like, yeah, you are. And I was like, fucking damn right. But I don't like that energy. Like I kept that up for like a week, and I was like, this is like I don't
It's
need
exhausting,
I don't need to do
you know?
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a competitor is so much better than an enemy.
Mhm.
Like for a while I was an enemy with like every e-biker because like one of them fucked with my house, so then I was like all of them are the problem, you know, and that was horrible. It's definitely
That's Gregory's op as a 13-year-old. He's like taking audition to him, and Gregory's like, motherfucker, getting you, motherfucker.
Bro, if you could see me in my Jeep, right? I'm fucking driving and I catch one out of the corner of my eye. I put the meanest face on I can and I like pocket my knife, you know? I'm ready for the fight. And it's like a 12-year-old blonde girl who's like barely like knows how to like be on the streets. And I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. That I'm
Just stalking a 12-year-old blonde girl, probably going slow behind her in your Jeep. Like the type of thing like when you are a kid and that like car is coming down slow down your street and you're like, holy shit, like we gotta run, like this dude's coming after us. That was you.
Dude, they're even going the other way though. You know what I mean? Like I'm ready for someone like for a full war, and it's just so inconspicuous.
funny.
Yeah. Who's your op, Mateo?
My biggest op, dude.
I think I could name it.
Well,
Yeah, let's hear it. What do you think my biggest op is?
Inefficient people.
Inefficient people I have to deal with, maybe, you know?
I guess I fucking pussied out of that one. I think I had a specific one for you.
Yeah? My line.
Yeah.
My
fucking-
line
Mm-hmm.
off of Champions. Don't touch me. I don't know where your dirty ass hands been, dude.
That's good shit.
It's just the most like elitist line ever.
For
Like I
sure.
could picture like wearing a nice watch, you know, and be like, dude, don't touch me. I don't know where your dirty ass hands been.
that's what I like about Big Sean though too, is like he is kind of all about like, you know, like meditation and like holistic vibes and like, you know, that whole wave, but it's also like, don't fucking come to my house with your fucked up energy.
Yeah.
You know?
And,
And,
like you
I
mix
like
that
that,
in
yeah.
with like rap braggadocio, it turns into like an interesting vibe for
Yeah.
sure.
Energy suck is an interesting way of looking at like opposition, where you're like not mad at the person, but like you suck off my vibe, bro.
I think that's the most realistic version of opposition anybody faces nowadays.
Do you,
Like
Yeah.
that's the real enemy, is somebody sucking your energy out.
maybe my op is a lack of suckage though, you know?
Mateo
Mateo's at
needs
the-
more suck, dude.
More suck.
Somebody come here, start sucking Mateo.
Mateo's at the bar in the corner, fucking throwing blows against the wall, and they're like, "What is he fighting? Lack of suck, bro."
Wow.
I want to get back on this fucking pro you are God thing.
Mm.
I feel like it's a very powerful message to have. And I don't even mean it in the most healthy way possible, trying to tell people that they're God. I just think like if you're not living like you're God and you're not living the world with like that stomp energy,
Yeah.
at least that's where my energy and that's where my best vibes and happiest moments are, is just like total stomp, you know? How do we tell people to stomp more?
I feel like every religion tries to tell you that you're God in varying degrees. You
Mhm.
know, I feel like Eastern religion is very on the nose of like, you are God, you are the center of creation.
Yeah.
And Western tends to be a little bit more like, because I feel like Western was around enough homeless people to be like, whoa, you know, we don't need you like thinking you can do anything. We just want
Yeah.
you thinking that you are like, have the Holy Spirit in you.
Let's gatekeep God a bit, you know?
Right. So, but I don't think they wanted it to the degree where you didn't feel like stomping was the truth of like,
Mhm.
you flowing is like point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Western religion just kind of got it fucked up by being like, oh, well, you are in the image of God, which is like, okay, pseudo saying that you are God.
Right.
But they're also like, well, but if you do things bad, then like God's not going to like you anymore. But then it's like, okay, well, but you're not any different than God.
Yeah,
so
if
like,
you're an image of God and you're doing things bad, God's doing things bad.
Yeah,
you know?
you're only gonna have a bad time if you don't like yourself because of the things that you're doing. Because then it is God not liking you because you're acting out against your own, highest version of yourself. But yeah, like, I mean, it's hard to figure out how to convince people when it's like, it's something that is worth experiencing,
Yeah.
And then it's also worth understanding and I feel like making clear too that when we say that like you are God, like so is everybody else around you.
Yeah.
Like you don't, it's like your godliness doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Yeah, and that maybe takes out the stomp, but like
I don't
always
even think so.
Well, it takes out like the stomping on others, which is like probably pretty important. Don't stomp on others.
Well, you just got to recognize if you're going to stomp on others, you're also stomping on yourself. So it's like just do that equation in your head, and if you want to try it out, like okay.
If you're gonna stomp on others, like go to a Travis Scott concert and you can be around a bunch of other stompers, and you're probably gonna have a really fucking good time. Honestly, putting yourself around other stompers. I hate classifying it to like Eastern and Western religions, though.
Yucky sound to it for sure.
Yeah, like they're doing it better in the East. Like as an American, I hear that and I'm like, you're kind of gross for saying that, Dylan. I think that's fucking disgusting. But I do want to say like we shouldn't gatekeep other people being God. I think what's special about us and our religion is that there's no limits. We're not gatekeeping at all. Like you're God, even if you don't like it, like you're God, bite. And I just think that's the most important thing that exists.
The bite's a really integral part of our thinking. I don't think people always understand how we mean it. And I'd love to just give everyone a shit ton of acid and they could really get up to speed.
We're going to take a quick intermission, giving us time to get up to speed.
Okay, I want to get back to it. Bite, dude.
Bite.
Wait, first, I think the perfect representation of bite that I could describe right now is spinning the wheel because I fucking want to.
Yeah,
dude, spinning the wheel is bite. Like, because spinning the wheel stresses me out, So, like, it's bite for me for sure. I'm like, fuck, what's it going to say?
Oh, dude, I'm so excited for some of these. So, drop it. Dude, Greg's notes, dude.
I thought that said Greg's nose, and I was like, Mateo's gonna break my nose, bro. God damn.
I was really hoping it was gonna fall on Slap.
Yeah, it's gonna happen soon.
I was pretty wholeheartedly ready for it. I was like, there's no way. I bet 10 of them are Slap. That's what I was thinking.
Dude, Slap would be dangerous right now, though, because I'm like, I don't think any of us would have remembered to take our ring off, and like somebody's getting hit hard.
I'd go right hand slap. Yeah.
I don't think I'd have that much wherewithal to think about which hand I'm
just
using.
boxed Greg's ear the other day with my ring hand.
I could tell in your voice as he was saying, like, oh, like you fucking hit me in my ear. You're like kind of trying to be like, oh, you're being a bitch still. But in your head, you're like, fuck, like I could really fuck him up with that ear hit, couldn't I?
Well, it's more of like I didn't. That happens to me a lot because I slap people and people slap me back like in a good way. I'd feel like in life, but yeah, when that happens, occasionally someone takes it too far and it's usually a bummer. So I apologize for boxing your ear if I apologize.
You're all good, dude. I will say at 4 a.m, I woke up and
this is such a Gregism right now. This is such a great thing to do. Be like, dude, you're all good except for this horrible thing I'm about to tell you.
Except for my dick stopped working because of you.
Bro, I woke up and my left ear was ringing so bad, and I was like, those are all frequencies I'll never hear again that Mateo robbed from me, bro.
Oh, God, you're fucking fine. I do apologize, but you're going to be fine.
But then I thought about Fight Club and was like, dude, that opening scene is, fuck, dude, you got me in the ear. And it's like, oh, dude, Mateo just wants me to get fucking physical.
That's bite right there, dude.
Fight Club is, I think, the most visceral form of showing someone bite. My analogy when I was younger was always falling off a bike, and when your skin touches ground and it starts like, that's the most bite moment. In the same way that like when I'm anxious, I imagine doing this, but I never connected it to cigarettes, and then was like, that's probably a nicotine addiction that I just don't give into. But in my head, I'll be like, I wish I could just be doing this. Yeah, so when I was a kid, I would the hitting the ground was the same thing where I didn't have a word for it, but I was just like, I want to like fall off a bike right now. It was when I was bored in class or whatever. I'd be like, I just need that, like, give me electricity.
I think that's a super good relatable way to put it is like getting hurt. Yeah, like falling off, scraping skin. Like that moment of realization where you're like, fuck, okay, like this thing happened, but not like bad necessarily. But that same moment of like, whoa, okay, things are different now.
Also, the bitiest of the bite is like something happened, yeah. And it's not that it's not bad, and it's not that it's bad or good.
Mm-hmm.
The moment before when you're checking like, oh shit, did I like really fuck something up? Like, is my shoulder out of its socket right now? Or did I like just kind of tweak it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
There's a really big difference, and living in that's bite, you know? Just that second of shock, like,
yep,
we're about to fucking find out.
Yep.
You can't have other thoughts. I feel like that's why the hurt or anything physical is so good for narrowing your focus to a single point of like, how bad is it? You know, where are we at? What's about to happen?
Is that like cold adrenaline rush?
I feel like the thing I want to drive home to is like a bite does have the full spectrum though of like that's like doesn't necessarily have to be a negative bite.
Yeah.
But it's like it would be on that spectrum. But like that same moment that you're living in, like when you're trying to figure out if your shoulder's tweaked or like actually bad, can happen on like the good side too. Like I feel like to me, like the most prominent bites have been like epiphanies, where like there is that moment where it's like everything that you knew before is like totally shut out from your brain. Because you're like, whoa, like this thing I'm thinking about is like truth.
Dude, you're such
and
a
then you
thinker.
just move forward for that, you know?
I love how you do this with epiphanies, you know? Because I have things that like I change like a little thing here or there, but like I feel like you're having full on fucking like thought breakdowns. Like, it's a fucking epiphany right here.
Yeah,
dude.
no, it's,
Me too.
It's crazy. Like that's like the biggest ones to me. It's like, oh, it almost feels like jumping into a new timeline where you're like, holy shit. Okay, yeah, this feels so right. This is what I'm doing from now on.
Mm-hmm.
I had one today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I finally like properly planned out my next stage in life,
Mm-hmm.
and so it wasn't the plan so much as it was like I took the first step of a new journey.
Yeah.
And when I walked out of my house to come here, I like looked up at the sky and the whole light looks different. And I was like, it feels different, and like everything and the change of season even like connected with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I stopped to help that woman, which was like a good bite. It was like, am I gonna stop? And something just clicked, and it was like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much charitable act can kind of do, because as much as it was like the first steps before that, like doing that was like a confirmation step, you know? Like it's the pat on the back in life in a way where you do something for a while and then you get recognized for it too.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty big.
It's almost like it's listening to the voice in your head that knows the right answer. And then when you get the reassurance that you're like, wow, this voice in my head was right the whole time. And now I know what it's like to listen to it. And now I know that like I will always do this moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
It's like something you've wanted forever, and then you get it, and you're like, wow, I have it now.
I see those sometimes. I don't see them as epiphanies as so much as like I have the epiphany and then I'm about to go into something, but I can kind of look back at times in my life and be like, okay, this moment was an epiphany, or this, like I said, a pat on the back. Like I got a pat on the back once for, I feel like I made a bunch of kind of meh podcasts at first in college just because like I was learning how to do it off of YouTube and like I had it connected to my computer. But then the first time I showed it to like as a class presentation to the teacher, and he was like, I want you in my fucking radio class. That was, looking back, I'm like, that was a epiphany in a way.
Yeah.
I guess it was like a breakthrough that had bite.
Yeah. It was like your reinforcements to trust yourself.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, I like thought I was making a shitty podcast, but like, you was probably part of you that was like, but I'm doing my best.
I'm doing
my best. And then somebody
best.
listened to it and was like, no, these are really good. And they're like, oh, nice. Like my best is worth it.
Yeah, exactly. So like, I see that. I don't see him in the moment as much though. And I wonder why. Part of that's maybe appreciation. Part of that's like a belief in the idea of an epiphany too.
Yeah.
Where I've always kind of viewed myself as someone slowly changing at always. And there's not like as much breakthroughs as it's like more linear, which is right and wrong, you know? Like it dips and goes up and down.
I think I mean, I used to be that way too. Like I have like all of my epiphanies. This is just so this podcast, but I didn't start having the momentary epiphanies until after I did mushrooms. Before that, I only ever had the like, yes, I would look back and be like, oh yeah, like this particular time was like a huge change for me. But yeah, now I guess it is just a trust thing. I just trust it now. And then it's like, it's worked enough times where I'm like, yeah, this is the way I live life.
And like what Greg was saying, it's like the words you put into it too, because I feel like you were thinking about it today, how you hit an epiphany though, were you not? Or is it more looking back on today?
I was thinking about it. I think it was even because my dad was like, how'd that feel, you know? And I was like,
Mhm.
good.
Mhm.
And then he like even doubled down on framing it as like there was a big change.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you talk to yourself much?
Yeah, frequently.
Okay.
That might be why. I don't know.
No, I'm like, I think the only reason that I have the momentary ones is because I do talk to myself.
Okay.
Like I'll have a whole conversation with myself again between like the good voice and then the regular voice.
Whoa.
Where it's like I'm telling myself like, yeah, duh, dude, like this is the thing. Like this is like you felt this before, you're feeling it right now.
Mhm.
And then I'm responding back to that like as another part of me being like, you're so right. Like this is it.
I can relate to that in a way.
Uh-huh.
Definitely. When I do look back and find the epiphanies, like in my past, I'm like, oh, that was an epiphany.
Mhm.
Like today, I was practicing for teaching a class that's gonna happen soon, and I'm like, what am I gonna tell these people about like my past, you know? And I just kind of talked it out, and then I'm like, and then I did this because this happened, and I'm like, then I thought about it, I'm like, I didn't really do that because I felt that way. I did this because of something else,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't do it as much as I should.
I think it's powerful.
It's like journaling. It's just like talking to someone
Mhm.
all the time, you know. But that person,
Totally.
like,
Yeah.
that person you can't get rid of.
Yeah.
Until you hit that fucking brick wall, though.
Or maybe you become that person.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
No, because that person's always gonna exist, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
like there's no way that person doesn't exist unless you become like an absolute monk and then like hit it, you know.
I guess like like that voice for me is like it's a voice of truth where like it's gonna recognize every truth in my life because it is me and
Mhm.
knows everything that's ever happened to me. But it's a non-judgmental voice that's like it's gonna point out the truth, and it's I know exactly the non-judgmental view of it,
Mhm.
and then like but then the second voice that responds is the voice that's gonna act on it.
This was a big one, and
Uh-huh.
actually, this is something maybe a regression of a law that I've fallen back on was the whole Michael Scofield, forgot the guy's name, where he's like, you have to talk nicely to yourself.
Yeah,
that was
totally.
huge, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's something that like makes that voice non-judgmental, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's like I don't think that voice was non-judgmental until I did mushrooms.
Okay.
And then it's like I had forceful non-judgmental truth, you know, cast upon me.
Mhm.
And then from that I'm like, oh, I just know how to do this now. Like I learned a skill.
Yeah.
And it made me feel so good in the moment. So it's like, okay, carry that forward.
You think that works because it like tears up your ego enough so that you like synchronize with being like that
Yeah,
version, and then when your ego comes back, you're
Oh.
like, oh, I still know the version exists. I know what it looks like without the mask of the ego.
Yeah, I mean, I got lucky too. I think to have it work as good as it did. I do think that is like the mechanism though.
As long as you're not like blaming your ego, I think it's right, you know? But I think that part for me can be judgmental and correct a lot of the times.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to like look at it as a thing that like, hey, this has reason to judge, you know? Like, fuck a lot of people in your life that are trying to judge you, but the one person who probably fucking can is you.
I don't know if this is gonna make any sense.
Go for it.
But judgment in a way does feel like non-judgmental truth.
When it's coming from
'cause-
yourself.
Yeah, because like you're casting judgment on yourself. Like it's like God casting judgment on you.
Yeah.
Like at the end of your life, it's just like you're God and you're casting on like it on yourself in the moment.
Mhm.
But even though it is genuine judgment and like it's gonna make you feel away, like you're gonna know if you're like being judged, like, you know, negatively, but it is non-judgmental because like it is just coming from you. Like it's almost like one and the same, no?
Yeah. I also don't take it personally anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like that judgment when it hits me, I'm like, oh, well, I'm just playing like the Gregory character this round. And, like,
Exactly, yeah.
the things I can change, that's useful information.
Mhm.
It's like, I got to improve my life in those.
Yeah.
Things I can't change, you know? I'm like,
Mhm.
I just got the shitty character. Like, don't even be, you know, it is what it is.
That's super real, yeah. That's a huge part of it.
And I appreciate that. Like, I'm playing it this way. I'm not forced to do this. I like chose to.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, you just get the hand that you're dealt.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, I got dealt this hand. So like, yes, there's just flaws that I'm never gonna get over. I just gotta deal with them. But like, even though I am this way, doesn't mean I can't like always be striving to be the best version of this character.
Dude, Call of Duty Zombies. Do you know what I mean? Mystery box location in the overall route is very important to how the game is played, but you wouldn't reset it because it was in the hardest spot. And you wouldn't just keep resetting the game till you got the easy one every game. You ruin the point of the game. So I think the fun thing about the game of life is I don't care what that mystery box is.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, we're in the mystery box right now, churning, bro.
Oh, I'm like very all in on we could be inside of a box. Like this whole bad boy could open up and like a sweaty Marine from the 40s could like pull me out. Fucking you know?
The machine you put your gun into,
Oh, pack a punch.
you
This
get
nut,
pack a
bro.
punch, dude.
Unlimited reloads.
Dude, but that's kind of like, like that mirrors life too, you know? Like you get to a high enough level and you might go like, it's time to fucking pack a punch this character. Like we're getting into some things.
Dude, that's cocaine.
Exactly. I'm like, that might just literally be steroids, you know? But it's like you can make that choice.
Yeah.
I think the crux of that metaphor, though, lands on that it's a third-party person playing the game, and their experience of the game is what is fun. It's not how well you do inside the game. It's like the viewer's enjoyment.
It's the novelty of it. I mean, I feel like we've touched on that before, where it's like, there's just like, if you didn't have the novelty of like having your own quirks, it'd be weird. Like if everybody's all exactly the same, like somehow that would just be super depressing.
I got a question going off the last thing. Judgmental people are also valuable people. And where do you draw the line of like aiming for normalcy produces like a very desirable person, but it also makes like a judgy kind of bummer person that's like not very accepting.
I mean, I think like people who are judging, yes, like do they spit a lot of truth? For sure. You just have to be able to parse it out from the ones where they are just like genuinely out of pocket about it,
Like
Where
take
it's
it with a grain of salt,
Yeah, it's like if a white mom is like, who's the freaking, president of your PTA association or whatever, is like giving you shit for something. Like part of what she's saying might be right. Part of it might just because she's from a totally different background than you and just doesn't know what's up,
President of the PTA.
Is that like a personal thing? Has that ever happened to you or not?
No, I just like that's somebody who I don't want to take any advice or care about their opinion,
I was telling Greg this because you were talking about how you dressed in middle school.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, but parents probably fucking hated it, And I'm like, fuck anybody who's judging you from a hypothetical.
Yeah.
At the very least, like I'm like on that vibe,
If probably's in the sentence, you probably shouldn't listen to that idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think being straight up with people is super important, If your judgment is pointing out the truth and it's not your own opinion, then I think that always has value. Because then it's like, again, up to you to decide like, well, this person's pointing out the truth. They're being an asshole about it. So like, I just need to choose to like, disregard their attitude, but like what they're saying is true.
It's Kendrick Lamar line, I think. Paige Taylor. You're not wrong. You're an asshole. I don't know what it was, but I'm like,
yeah, but that is totally like that's a thing.
I think
Wrong with your asshole, dude. That's good shit.
Yeah. I think I take it best when the person can relate themselves to me as much as possible before it. I don't want them to soften the blow, but them to kind of put themselves in my shoes and then judge from my shoes.
Totally. I think that is how to not be an asshole about it if you're going to point out a harsh truth, is to be like, hey, like I see you, I know why you're doing this thing. But like, here's the truth of this situation, which I know you already know. And I get that you only did it because these other factors.
Yeah. It's like someone gives a little bit of zoom out or a little bit of step to the right with perspective. I wonder if that's because this is a stretch, but like, I wonder if that's because that's how I take it best for myself. Like the person and the person, when you say non-judgmental, that you take it best from is yourself, is that ego voice as close as someone can get to that voice,
Yeah.
You have to like sidestep the ego in a way and carefully reach that voice and be like, hey, like I get it, but like think about it this way.
That's definitely not just you. I mean, everybody wants to be seen. That's the number one thing I feel like people want. So I feel like that's got to be how it works for most people.
I'll take either way of like someone who can put themselves in my shoe, like someone who has the credit to be like, I'd been there and I'm talking from experience. Because I won't take advice from anyone, but if you like,
as a rule, but if I were to.
But then the flip side of that is someone who has zero care about me or input in my life. With someone just passing by goes like, damn, that shit crazy. You got a big ass, I'll take that advice too, because I'm like,
Yeah, like they had no skin in the game at all.
So either way, I'll take the extremes, God, I've had some funny life improvers from those.
Really?
Yeah, once in college, we were on, Omegle, dude. And we were just going through, and we got to some college in like Kentucky, and this like, I might even been in high school. I think this kid was like 17, and he was like, oh, "Okay, cool, 2 girls, we can work with this." And then like they moved the camera over there, and I'm there, and they're like, "Oh god damn, Charles Manson looking ass, like what the fuck?" And I was like, "Oh," like. But it was so honest. It was like, okay, that's how some people are gonna react to me when they see me.
That's a super good point. Like, it's hard to get that feedback.
Yeah,
That's so funny.
And it's powerful for you to get that feedback and still not like lean away from it, because I feel like you're not trying to be Charles Manson still,
No. I also got Bert and Ernie though. He's like, that's Bart, dude. And I was like, oh shit, like that was not good vibes,
Oh god.
That's so good.
Omegle is a crazy vibe, dude. Oh my god.
It is ridiculously raw. It is like it does feel like it's fucked up somehow.
And that's not just the raw cocks you're seeing. It's like raw in many ways.
It is like the Wild West freedom, which is crazy that it still exists, Oh my god.
Nice.
I feel so much better.
Yeah. There's a lot of gas in there.
I smell it already.
Once again, thank you for watching, listening, hearing about, using the little ear holes to listen to You Are God, the podcast. Fucking love you guys. Go online, thechangecommunity.com, Instagram, TikTok, You Are God Pod. We're going to keep this up, and you guys are going to keep up.